Quantum Muse Books.
Gee, thanks.
You're welcome.
Great.
I'm Tim Goyette. This is Ray Coulon.
That's who I am.
Yes.
Great.
Today and forever. Well,
Okay.
except for that incident in Key West, but we'll not go into that.
Hey.
Hey, we're here as Quantum Muse Books to discuss writing and how to become a better writer and how to use the skills properly. As editors, we've had a lot of experience with new authors trying to get better. He has flashbacks.
I have flashbacks. It's
Okay. What we're going to talk about right now is how to fill in backstory. And one of the worst ways to fill in backstory is called an information dump, which is at the beginning of your story, you just spend page after page, paragraph after paragraph, just filling the reader in on what's happened before the story starts. So that by the time they get a page or so into this, they've closed the book, set it aside, and gone.
you think they'd be more appreciative of all that work.
Yes, you'd think so, but most people don't find it interesting. And one of the dangers is the author finds it fascinating.
Yeah. But you know what? So you write it. You write it, you set it aside, you use that as your template, and but you don't start with it. You use that. That's just a working paper. That's just for the writer. And you take those bits of information, you decide which ones are actually critical, and then there's other ways to sneak it into your story where it makes more sense and doesn't slow the story down to the point where the author closes the book and moves on.
The reader.
The reader.
Yeah.
Or the author. That would be even worse.
Yes. I'm the author and I hate this. I'm going to throw it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the purpose of any book is to catch the reader's attention enough so that they want to go along for the ride in the story. And one of our other writers, Patrick Leclerc, likes to say is if the car pulls up, do you want to get in or not? And the beginning of the story has to be at such a point that it interests you enough that you want to go in the car for the ride. Otherwise, they close the book, they walk away. You get negative reviews on all sorts of websites, and then your book bombs or your short story.
And I found if your book is on Kindle Unlimited, something like that, it's a lot easier to just move on to another book. When you had to walk into a bookstore and you had that commitment that you actually spent $6 on a physical book, and you're like, okay, I might give this a couple of chapters anyway to see if it gets any better. Well, now it's so easy to just move on that people do. I guess life's too short for bad books.
Yeah, I actually find myself doing that on YouTube videos. If they don't catch my attention in the first 20 seconds or so, it's like, I'm going to another video. They're giving me too much information about, or they're going to tell me what they're going to say before they actually say it, and it's all background information. And it's like, nah, I'm going to move away from them.
So, shiny.
Another way to fill in the backstory and let everybody know what's going on, and is generally frowned upon in the literature classes and stuff, is a flashback.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be done right. For every rule there's an exception.
Yeah.
But generally it takes the reader out of the story. They don't know what's going on with the character that they were just involved with, and they're given this other story that they're going to move away from someplace else.
Yeah, but I think the key is you have those bits of information, and you get the story rolling, and you drop in those bits of information just where they make sense, as in part of the story, just enough to keep the reader from being lost, and to keep them to actually increase their interest instead of burying them. But you can't bury them with endless writer's notes.
Yes, I'm trying to think of a good example of a place where we see something at the beginning. There's actually this thing which Ray actually told me about, which I think you got from writing school, which was the theory of threes.
Yeah. The idea behind that is, it was someone would attempt and fail 3 times before succeeding. That's just one of those little tricks. But you look for it after a while, and you find out people use that a lot.
Mm-hmm. I was also thinking about noticing something 3 times.
Noticing something, then you remember it.
Yeah. Well, I think the example was as you're reading the story, The character gets up and goes to the bathroom to brush his teeth, and he notices that it's only his toothbrush there.
Yeah.
Takes out and brushes his teeth. After he brushes his teeth, he looks to put his toothbrush back, realizes that his is only the toothbrush there. And as the reader, you're noticing this as being pointed out to you, but you don't understand the context.
Yeah.
The third time it's brought up, it's pointed out that his girlfriend left or his wife passed away, and he just got rid of her toothbrush, which was the last reminder of her, and it gives meaning to what happened before and makes it fulfilling
Yeah,
for the readers.
it's used. The rule of three is used in any number of ways, and but making something stick out is I guess like the toothbrush or just people have habits, and you can tie something into their habit, and when something breaks that habit, suddenly you go, oh wait, now we're off onto something new, something's changed.
Yeah. Or the toothbrush thing that kind of feeds in. The perfect place to put in the backstory is the third time you noticed it,
Yeah.
and then it doesn't have to be too much, and they already are involved in what's
Yeah,
going
they know
on.
there's something going on, and then it makes sense. And
Another thing that I wanted to put in is, especially if you're writing science fiction, and probably less so with fantasy, is that you can get really involved in some part of science that you've created for the reader, and or some magic properties or the life cycles of dragons.
yeah,
Which, is fascinating to you as an author, and you want to include it there, but it's another thing that will turn a reader off.
well, there was a time, probably 60s, maybe even the early as the 50s, where science fiction was written like by engineers for engineers, and they'd really geek out on talking about some computer communication protocol, and they get all excited about that, and it was such a limited audience, and like I said, engineers for engineers, and but that's not the market anymore. It's a tiny part, and you can get lost in that as a writer. You can definitely do it in detail, and it's not just science fiction. It's very easy in science fiction, but you can do it with a magic system. You can do it with you can do it just getting lost in the geography of the place that you're writing about.
Or if you're a sailor, you're describing how the boat and all the sailing functions work, and that's not important to the story.
Unless you're another sailor.
Yes.
So if you're writing it, and you're going to be published in, I guess Sailor's Fiction magazine, maybe you'd stand a chance. But
a really great book was written by Arthur C. Clarke, which was Rendezvous with Rama.
Yeah.
Fabulous book. If you haven't read it, you should. And then there was a second book which was followed up, which was written by Arthur C. Clarke and someone else, and I suspect the other person wrote it and just put Arthur C. Clarke's name on it, because it's dreadful. It's one of those I couldn't get through. And it was because they were padding it with stuff. There was one point where the character picked up the phone or whatever the communication device was, to talk to somebody else, and then it went on for what seemed like page after page of describing how the communication system worked. And nauseating detail, and it's like, I don't.
and nobody
care about
cares,
this.
because you pick up your phone, you make a call, it works.
And that's all he had to say. But either they were padding it to get enough words, because at one time all science fiction stories had to be at least 85,000 words, or they're fascinated by the science of it, and they wanted to present it to everybody.
Yeah.
And I guess the last thing I'd like to say is that sometimes cutting these things out is like killing your children.
Well, you don't have, it depends how many children you have, and,
Which ones you like best.
which one's going to pick your nursing home.
But yes, you may want. There are times that as a writer, you'll find it extremely hard to cut stuff out, even though you feel it shouldn't be there, even though the readers you've given it to have said, this is really boring, you should cut this part out. And
Philistines, you should know better.
I'm the author, I know what's right. You as the author are in control of your universe. It's completely up to you. If you want to leave that in, you can. No one's going to tell you not to. You can make it happen. It's just
Well,
that
they'll
reduce sales.
They'll tell you, it'll show up in your bank account, or it won't show up in your bank account. You are supposed to make money at this, right?
Yeah.
I keep forgetting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Again, he's Ray. And have a remember to subscribe and like and ring that bell so that you can find out other videos as they become available.
Okay.
Okay.